Greetings, this is M. Welcome to episode 3 of the Spectre Report. Having touched on the danger to freedom, human rights, and democracy posed by the Chinese Communist Party in episode 2, and raising the issue of CCP control and influence over our major institutions and elites, I would like to bring all of your attention to one of the CCP's misdirection tactics. In recent months, it has been pointed out in the media that the leaders of Russia and China are working together in a close relationship. But this has been happening for much longer than most people realize. Please keep in mind that one of the oldest tricks of geopolitical strategy is for two countries to give the appearance that they are enemies, while they secretly work together against another country. And one of the fundamental rules of diplomacy is that the enemy of one's enemy is their friend. In regards to this, keep in mind that groups of people who hold the same interests and values can often work together as well, regardless of race, religion, or country. In follow-on episodes, we will show evidence that while politicos on both sides of the aisle have been targeted by China, it is the socialists, or progressives, in the United States and other democratic countries who have been most successfully co-opted, and in some cases coerced, by the Chinese Communist Party. It would seem that they are being used by the CCP as useful idiots, to use Vladimir Lenin's term. It appears they are being used to diminish the power of democratic countries such as the United States from within. Democratic political elites in the United States such as the Clintons, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden have talked tough on China, but their actions have only pushed socialist policies in the United States that have hurt the US economy and the military, while simultaneously strengthening China's economy and military. This is a dangerous situation that freedom-loving citizens of all democratic nations need to keep themselves aware of. We are not politically affiliated, and the problem of corruption and treason is on both sides of the political aisle. But the fact is that the political left have been the most easily targeted and the most useful for the CCP for a number of political and ideological reasons. We will detail this further in future episodes. Okay? Are you still with me? Let's move forward. There are many authoritarian regimes who work closely with the CCP in order to weaken our democratic countries. For example, during the Obama administration, and before the death of Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez, the leaders of many authoritarian regimes, most notably China and Russia, held high-level meetings in Venezuela. Surely you are all aware that when the leaders of powerful nations get together like that, it is not to play golf and chat about sports. It is an indicator that those nations are in an alliance. And in this case it is clear that they are in an alliance against the free democracies. What's more, they are in an alliance against the leader of the free world, the United States. And we would suggest to you that it is not a coincidence that this happened during Barack Obama's time as US President. We will go into more detail about President Obama in a future episode. But we do expect to hear more about him soon because Special Counsel John Durham's investigation is slowly but surely closing the noose around him. After all, Barack Obama, who is very connected to those who we refer to as global elitists, was heavily involved in the efforts to frame Donald Trump as a Russian agent. But we will go deeper into that in another episode. Moving on. Unfortunately, the CCP has been able to use its influence over our elites and the mainstream media to do a remarkable job of covering up the alliance between Russia and China for a very long time. The CCP and the Putin regime have been playing a geopolitical game analogous to good cop bad cop. Russia played the role of the scary bad cop, rattling sabers at the Western democracies. Meanwhile, China played the good cop, maintaining seemingly friendly relations with the West. Western mainstream media and corrupted members of the intelligence community pushed the idea of Russia being the major threat, while ignoring China almost entirely. Meanwhile, the Chinese Communist Party further infiltrated and took over our institutions from within. This trend continues today. Let's back up a bit. Let me pose a question to you. Who is more dangerous, on their own, to the security and sovereignty of democratic nations such as the United States, Russia, or China? We would say that certainly Russia can be a serious threat because they have a massive nuclear arsenal. However, the United States also has a massive nuclear arsenal, and because of mutually assured destruction, both sides will most likely refrain from attacking one another with nuclear weapons. If they do, a nuclear attack would destroy the whole world and we would all quite literally have nothing left to worry about. Also, we would like to point out that Russia's economy is dwarfed by the United States economy. And like all authoritarian countries, Russia's economy is extremely inefficient because it is saddled with corruption, which makes it even weaker. Therefore, it tends to have very little power in the world other than threatening the use of its nuclear weapons and its military. However, ever since the Western powers have allowed China to join the World Trade Organization and made the CCP rich and well-connected through trade, the CCP has gained the ability to run political candidates of their own choosing for high offices in countries they wish to control, and they've gained the ability to use the power of our own media to sway popular opinion toward the candidates they hold sway over. Keep in mind that when great nations fall, they fall from within. And a candidate running for President of the United States or for the US Congress goes through far less vetting and security background checks than low-level members of the United States military and intelligence community. The CCP knows this very well, and we will show evidence in future episodes that they have already put well-groomed Manchurian candidates into the most powerful positions in the United States and many other nations around the world. We will show very strong evidence that multiple US presidents, to include Barack Obama, have been under China's influence. The critical point that we want to get across to you right now, as you do your own research, is to beware of the potential distraction that the war in Ukraine might be causing. It seems to be the only topic of discussion in the mainstream news these days. But we can't emphasize enough that there is a bigger picture to look at. China and Russia are working together. In essence, Russia holds the West at gunpoint, while China sneaks in and steals everything away. Question: the United States and its allies could have taken actions that likely would have prevented a Russian invasion of Ukraine before it even happened. Why didn't they take those actions? In addition, the West had plenty of time to help Ukraine prepare for the invasion, but the defense of Ukraine appears to be an afterthought. Why has the reaction of Western governments been to put on such a big show by talking tough, but to take no real action? They have clearly delayed providing any help to the Ukrainians for as long as possible. Question: could it be that the Biden administration actually allowed the war in Ukraine to not only begin, but to drag on, for a reason? Ask yourself, how much leverage does the CCP have over the Biden administration? Could it be that the Chinese Communist Party is the reason for the lack of action on the part of the Biden administration? Let's look a little deeper. Appeasing Vladimir Putin by not getting involved in Ukraine does not take away Russia's nuclear threat, which is the Biden administration's excuse for not getting involved. Appeasing Putin will only cause him to use more threats in the future. And this happens to be very useful for the Chinese Communist Party. Vladimir Putin is not stupid or crazy. He is a former KGB officer who rose in a very dangerous environment to become the leader of Russia. He is cold and calculating. Keep in mind that Russia and China are historical enemies. However, Putin will cooperate with China because he is adept at surviving a treacherous political landscape. He knows his own strength, and he likely believes, as do we, that the United States elites are already controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Why would Putin even consider not siding with China in this case? So think about this question. Could it be that Putin is currently carrying out a small part of a much broader strategy that's being employed by, among others, China and Russia together? And is it possible that the Biden administration knows about it? Or could the Biden administration even be in on the plan? Or do we have to just accept that the Biden administration is stupid and incompetent? Is Putin the distraction while China slips in the back door again? For as the West has been distracted with Ukraine, China has made a military deal with the Solomon Islands and continues to arm island chains in the South China Sea. It appears that China intends to dominate the Strait of Malacca, a strategic choke point for shipping vital resources such as oil, and a crucial shipping lane for a large percentage of global trade. It likely intends to cut off Japan and Taiwan, while making way for its plan for global dominance, dubbed the One Belt One Road Initiative. What should raise your eyebrows is how easily it is carrying out its plan, seemingly unopposed during this Biden administration. Again, how much leverage does the CCP have over the current US administration? Finally, we have seen evidence that China is helping to prop up the Russian economy in the midst of the sanctions against Russia. This would again fit with the narrative that Russia and China are working together in a coordinated plan. So we would like to pose one more question for you. This is the big one. Is the invasion of Ukraine also connected to China and Russia's desire to diminish the United States dollar's dominance as the world reserve currency? If so, it seems to be working. Countries like Saudi Arabia are already considering accepting Chinese yuan instead of US dollars for oil sales. Russia and China have been stockpiling gold in recent years in what seems to be preparation for a move to gold-backed currencies in the midst of desperate inflationary policies by Western central banks, which are a temporary solution to the long-term problem of diminished economic productivity due to socialist policies and government overspending. The Biden administration and Democrat-led Congress have pushed forward policies that have only hastened the demise of the US economy and the US dollar. Again, you must ask the question: is it intentional or sheer incompetence? Okay, we must stop here for now. Hopefully we have raised enough questions in your mind for you to do your own research and let us know what you come up with in the comments section. In order for democracy to survive, we all need to do our own research. Do not just accept what you see and hear as true. Question everything. More to follow. Sincerely, M.